During World War II, in the icy plains of northeastern China, there existed a secret facility so horrifying that for decades, even Japan refused to admit it was real. Its name was Unit 731, a military research center disguised as a disease control laboratory. But inside, scientists carried out some of the most inhumane medical experiments ever recorded on prisoners of war, civilians, and political captives. Today, we uncover the dark truth of Unit 731, the human cost of scientific ambition, and why, even after the war ended, justice never fully came. It began in 1932 in occupied Manchuria, during Japan's imperial expansion into China. Japan wanted to prove itself as a scientific superpower, and its military leaders believed that biological warfare could become the ultimate weapon. Under the direction of Lieutenant General Shirō Ishii, a charismatic but ruthless microbiologist, the Army formed a secret epidemic prevention and water supply unit. Its true purpose? To develop biological weapons, plague, anthrax, cholera, and to test them on living human beings. In 1936, construction began on a vast complex near Harbin, codenamed Unit 731. Surrounded by barbed wire and secrecy, it was presented as a public health institute. But in reality, it was a human testing ground. Unit 731 was massive, nearly the size of a small city. It had laboratories, barracks, an autopsy building, and even a crematorium. Thousands of Japanese scientists, doctors, and soldiers worked there. And deep inside, behind locked metal doors, human beings, mostly Chinese civilians, prisoners of war from Russia and Korea, and a few Western captives, became test subjects. Researchers referred to them as maruta, meaning logs, a word used to dehumanize, to make the unthinkable possible. These logs were exposed to diseases, infections, and frostbite, all in the name of science. In the laboratories of Unit 731, human life meant nothing. Doctors infected prisoners with plague, anthrax, cholera, and smallpox to study how diseases spread and how long people can survive. Others were subjected to frostbite experiments, their limbs frozen and thawed to measure tissue damage. Still others were exposed to grenades, chemical agents, or extreme temperatures. There were vivisections, dissections of living subjects, performed without anesthesia, so researchers could study organs under natural conditions. It's estimated that between 3,000 and 12,000 people died in Unit 731's walls. But many historians believe the real number could be much higher, because most evidence was destroyed before Japan's surrender. And yet, even as the war neared its end, the experiments didn't stop. They escalated. Ishii wanted to test biological weapons on entire cities. Some bombs filled with plague-infected fleas were dropped on Chinese towns, causing deadly outbreaks. Unit 731's data, gathered through human suffering, became the foundation for Japan's wartime biological weapons program. For decades, the truth about Unit 731 was buried, but historians and survivors have slowly uncovered its full scale. Here's what the evidence reveals. Unit 731 employed over 3,000 staff members, including doctors, scientists, and soldiers. More than 10,000 prisoners were experimented on between 1936 and 1945. Most of them are civilians. The facility had a capacity for 600 prisoners at a time and was designed for maximum secrecy, with bodies disposed of in incinerators or chemical pits. At least 26 additional facilities across China and Southeast Asia were connected to Unit 731, including Unit 100 and Unit 516. When the war ended in 1945, General Ishii ordered the destruction of all evidence and the execution of surviving prisoners. The goal: leave no trace. Even so, eyewitnesses, recovered documents, and confessions later revealed the horrifying details. After Japan's surrender, many believed those responsible would face justice, but that's not what happened. In 1947, U.S. intelligence officers discovered the existence of Unit 731. Instead of prosecuting Ishii and his team, the US secretly offered them immunity in exchange for their research data. The reason? The Cold War had begun. America wanted Japan's biological warfare information before the Soviet Union did. And so, the scientists of Unit 731 avoided trial, returning quietly to civilian life. Some became professors. Others worked in hospitals, pharmaceutical companies, even contributing to Japan's post-war medical industry. Meanwhile, the victims were forgotten, their suffering buried beneath political convenience. For decades, Japan's government avoided acknowledging Unit 731. School textbooks skipped over it, and survivors who spoke out were dismissed as anti-Japanese. But slowly, the truth resurfaced. In 1984, a group of Japanese journalists uncovered former documents and testimonies. In 1993, official papers from the U.S. archives confirmed the immunity deal. And in 2002, a Tokyo court recognized for the first time that Unit 731's experiments had occurred, but ruled that the Japanese government was not legally liable for compensation. Even today, Japan's acknowledgement remains limited. There has never been a full public apology. Yet, across Asia, in China, Korea, and beyond, the memory of Unit 731 endures as one of the darkest symbols of wartime cruelty. Behind every statistic was a human being. Many survivors recall the day the Japanese army arrived in their towns. Villages burned, families taken, people never seen again. Others remember the sound of the planes that spread plague-infected fleas, and how entire communities vanished within days. Even Japanese soldiers stationed at the facility later confessed they couldn't sleep for years after witnessing what they saw. Some said, "We were told it was for science, but it was murder." The legacy of Unit 731 serves as a chilling warning of what happens when science loses its morality. It reminds us that progress without ethics can turn medicine into a weapon and researchers into executioners. Today, the remains of the Harbin facility have been turned into a museum and memorial. Visitors walk through cold, empty rooms where echoes of the past linger in silence. The lesson is clear. Science can heal, or it can destroy. The difference lies not in technology, but in conscience. Unit 731 was erased from textbooks, but its truth lives on, as a reminder that even the most advanced civilizations can commit the darkest acts in the name of progress. And to this day, the victims of Unit 731 are still waiting, not for revenge, but for remembrance.